Hello gamers, welcome back, or in case you're new here, I'm NKZL, and in this video I will talk about stop killing games. Well, to be more specific, I've seen quite a few people that enjoy live service games, such as MMORPGs, being worried about the future of the games they enjoy. This initiative basically seeks to force developers to give up control over as many aspects of their online services as needed to leave games in a playable, functional state when they decide to shut it down, or alternatively, completely rework the game to make it playable either offline or on customer machines. Despite the initiative claiming otherwise, the only way for this to be achieved is if the European Parliament strips intellectual property protections from the law, because contradictory laws cannot exist in a legal system. So it has also crossed my mind that MMORPGs, which are my favorite type of game, will be destroyed by this, as nobody would want to create an MMO in an environment where intellectual property will not be protected by law. Of course, I want to see more of the games I like being made and not have things that would make it impossible for developers to make this kind of games. MMORPGs are already some of the most expensive and complex games to make, and we don't get enough of them as it is. But I am here to tell you that there is nothing to worry about, and I will discuss why in a little bit. First, we have to get a few things out of the way as quickly as possible. I'm not going to go into all the lies that this initiative is built on, as it is just a waste of time. Those that understand already understand, and if you don't and you genuinely want to learn, all you have to do is understand what a license is and why games are licensed and have always been. You can also go further and read about copyright and why it is one of the fundamental aspects a free society is built on. These protections are something that in the overwhelming amount of cases protect the little guy against big entities like corporations. Just to make it clear, the main problem with this initiative is a legal or moral one. While there are some technical problems too, and I've seen a lot of people focus on them, I believe those are secondary. That being said, most people in the real world understand that you do not own a theme park because you bought the ticket, and game licenses are almost identical to a theme park ticket, legally, morally, and logically speaking. It's as simple as that. I feel obligated to mention all this because there are a lot of comparisons going around that conflate goods and licenses. This is obviously a recurring theme with this whole initiative, and it is done in bad faith by people that pretend not to understand the difference. Like a lot of YouTubers that should be very familiar with this subject because of the nature of their job. But who knows, maybe some of them are really not capable of understanding. Hanlon's razor might apply here. Some will say that this means I do not support game preservation. I do, if and only if done properly. Sadly, this means I cannot support the Stop Killing Games initiative, because this initiative does more harm than good. This is the worst possible way to go about it. It creates a precedent where this whole idea is associated with lies and misinformation, and worst of all, it places the developers as a direct enemy. The relationship between developers and gamers must be a symbiotic one. Without developers, there are no games, and without gamers, a game is a meaningless failure. Every time you had fun in a game, it was either directly or indirectly because of the developers that made that game. On the other side of the coin, every time a game is successful, it is directly because of the support it receives from gamers. It should be evident to anyone that both sides are important and need to come together if any preservation idea is to ever have any success, like in every single already successful case of preservation. I'm not saying that the developer side is without fault, far from it. Just like the failed abortions that hate live service games, so in bad faith they support this initiative, there are a lot of bad actors in the gaming industry, especially AAA publishers. Almost all of them are either straight up evil or exceptionally incompetent, and there's overall many problems in the industry. This is exactly why this initiative should have been iron tight, well researched and reasonable, so bad actors would not be able to find faults with it. It's not the case here. This initiative will be torn to shreds by those that lobby politicians in the EU, and time will prove me right. However, this video is not about that crap. Just some background was needed, so let's get back to the topic. If you are worried about this having a negative impact on the future games of this type, like developers choosing not to develop live service games, you should not be. The first reason is that all this initiative does is make it a topic to be debated by the European Commission. In no way does this initiative force them to make laws, or even do anything at all about it. They will talk about it and consult with both legal and industry experts, and the result will most likely be negative, just like in the UK. And that is a loss for us as gamers, because this would have been a good opportunity to present a reasonable idea. Realistically, the chance of this becoming law, as demanded by the initiative, is close to 0%. The European Union would need to pull out of major international treaties that protect intellectual property, they would need to rewrite property laws, they would even need to strip some customer protection laws, especially those related to privacy and security. It's not something that realistically is going to happen. Again, this is why it would have been vitally important for those that initiated this to research the law and the industry and make realistic propositions. Of course, that would have been the case if we assumed they had the best intentions and actually wanted to make a real difference. In my opinion, this initiative was just a way for us to profit from it indirectly through the attention this garnered and nothing else, effectively making it just a publicity stunt. I believe this is why almost no research went into how and why the law is this way and how the industry works. I believe he never cared about this topic, beyond making himself look like an activist for gamer rights, which he has successfully done. However, we do live in a crazy world sometimes, people voting against their best interests, like with Brexit. We see unhinged activists that inconvenience or, in the worst case scenario, even destroy the property of their fellow citizens. We have terrorist supporters on major platforms. Many things that should be impossible in a so-called civilized and educated society. Of course, if you travel the world, you will realize that most of the Western world are just third world countries nowadays. A trip to Singapore, Japan or South Korea will quickly open your eyes to how first world country should be. So I will not blame you if you are worried that it will become law. Well, even if by some absurdity this happens, very little will change, because the solution to all the problems that such a law will create already exists, and it will be quite simple to implement to the whole industry. I'm talking about subscription services such as Game Pass. If licensing individual games will become a problem for companies, they will just switch to the subscription model. And this will basically mean we no longer purchase a license for a specific game, but we will pay a subscription fee to access a catalog of games. A change that already happened in other parts of the entertainment industry, like with Netflix. I'm not even accounting for the endless amount of underhanded things companies can do. This is exactly why I said that a satisfactory solution can only be reached when all parties work together rather than against each other. So, if as a direct result of the demands of this initiative becoming law, it becomes impractical for companies to license games, they can simply switch to a subscription model, because no matter how you look at it, it will be a much smaller loss than having to comply with the demands of this initiative. I should also mention that while the problem this initiative has is mainly a legal one and it revolves around very important intellectual property rights and protections, there are also technical problems with it. Mostly with MMOs, where a lot of things come together to create the experience, and there are often many technologies used that belong to other companies, especially on the back end. It is not something unsolvable, but it is a major obstacle. However, way more importantly, it is when we look at the future of gaming. For example, with AI becoming better and better, some next generation projects aim to implement AI NPCs, dynamic AI questing, and many other cool stuff. A customer will not have the hardware required to emulate these technologies in real time. Scaling down this technology simply does not provide the same experience. So it would be impossible for them to comply with the demands of this initiative anyway. There's one more thing to say. I believe this initiative will not achieve its goal, but even so, there is this one solution, and it completely solves any and all problems that any one person can have. It's literally like magic. Sadly, it involves something that is nightmare fuel for many people. I'm talking about personal responsibility. Do not buy games that you do not like for whatever reason. Extremely simple solution. There are plenty of fantastic developers out there, especially smaller studios, that do all the right things and could use support. It's up to each of us to support the games that we want to see more of. Anyway, to sum it all up, if you are worried about the impact of this initiative, you should not be. Most likely, it will not have any serious impact on the industry. There might be some performative action, but nothing serious. However, it will most likely not be codified into law, and even if by some absurdity what this initiative seeks becomes law, the industry will change the subscription model. Sadly, it might have a negative impact on game preservation, showing legislators that gamers are unreliable and unreasonable. It might make it much harder to approach the same topic in the future. Personally, I try to look on the bright side of things and hope for the best. So I hope maybe the developer side or the legislator side in this debate will come up with a realistic solution, like allowing gamers to shoulder the cost of servers when companies decide to shut down a game. Anyway, for me the most important thing is that this will not ruin MMORPGs or live service games, so the games I love will be safe. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, feel free to like, comment and subscribe or don't. See you in the next one, gamers.